I also want to note that this webinar might be a little bit shorter, probably around 20 minutes or so, simply because we're focusing on just one specific thing, which is really fantastic. And that's why I love to do kind of feature specific webinars. So it's not too long. We can just kind of get right to the point and then answer any questions that you all might have about this. So let's get started here. Again, please drop those questions into the chat. I really love to see them. And if you can't hear me or maybe you can't see my screen, just let me know. But I think we should be all good to go here. So I have a short presentation that I'm going to walk us through just to kind of paint the stage for what we'll be looking at. And then I am going to kind of jump into the live demo where I can walk us through some of the interactive reports. So today's session is gain the perspective you need with Priority Matrix Productivity Insight Reports. So what's really cool about using Priority Matrix as your project and task management solution is the fact that it doesn't just stop with collaboration or stop with setting deadlines and things like that. At the end of the week, end of the month, or oftentimes just at the end of the year, people in leadership positions definitely need some type of analytical report to be able to look back and figure out what was working, what was effective, and what wasn't working, what they should switch up for the next quarter or whatever time frame you're looking at. And without these types of reports, there's a lot of common challenges that I see surfacing. Again, really regardless of the vertical we're working with, the challenges are pretty much the same day in and day out if you don't have these analytical reports to look at. And what these challenges typically look like would be just kind of generally feeling uncertain when it comes to planning projects, because you may not know if your strategy worked last time, what you need to improve on. So yeah, you definitely have to move forward and keep planning more projects, but it can feel a little unsettling when you're not sure if it's the most effective approach. Another challenge without having these insight reports would be overloading a team or a user. So again, without this analytical report, it makes it really challenging to look back and see, okay, who on our team was really crushing their deadlines and who was, not hitting their deadlines. And maybe that was because they were just overloaded and the management wasn't able to see that. Lastly, another challenge can be unaware of recurring blocks during projects. So, maybe there's a task or a specific deadline that keeps getting pushed back, and the leadership just simply isn't aware of where the project is being delayed. And, maybe where there needs to be a little bit more support and resource delegation. So hopefully that resonates for all of us on the webinar today. I would actually love to hear your thoughts and, hear your feedback. For those of you that are using reports or maybe are not using reports, if you could just drop into the chat what your approach kind of looks like to get a high level understanding of your projects, that would be really awesome for me to kind of understand. And also everybody else on the meeting too can really benefit from kind of hearing how their peers are working. I also hear a lot of the time that, that the responsibility of getting these reports can be delegated out to somebody on the team. And oftentimes that takes hours, days, if not weeks, to kind of backtrack and figure out all the analytics that they need to be looking at. So, it's definitely not a day and age where we should be spending our valuable time manually generating these reports. Since there's really so much for everybody to be working on, you might as well just find a system that will automatically generate these for you, since you are already putting all of your collaboration and your task management into the system. So again, I think that I kind of just touched on all of this, but what is the big picture and why are analytical reports so critical? What we are able to do is we can summarize large amounts of information about a project in a clear way. Again, so you don't have to backtrack and kind of piece things together and do your best. It's going to make it super easy to understand what was happening within these projects. Maybe it's one project, maybe it's 100 projects. It can be, the more projects you have, the more difficult that it will be. Let's see. Why else are analytical reports so important? Well, because you can weigh out your project planning options moving forward. Again, if you know what wasn't working and what was working, planning projects in the future are going to be significant. It's going to be significantly easier. All right. So then what is the priority? What is the priority matrix approach and why do so many organizations choose to kind of level up to the business or the enterprise style license to get access to the priority matrix reports? Priority Matrix is able to automatically create easy to read insight reports for you, where you can filter and sort these reports to see exactly the data that you need. And from these reports, they're not set in stone. If you see a bunch of deadlines that were missed and you need to kind of reset those, you can absolutely adjust it directly through the reports for the most part. Some of them are a little bit more concrete, but a lot of them are things you can actually interact with. So we are going to be looking at a bunch of different reports today. And, I hope that what you can kind of take away from it is they are all interactive and they have a lot of filters. So you can filter by person, by project, by tag, and we're going to go through all of this together. So the next question we typically get is, well, how do I access these priority matrix reports? So you're going to have two options depending on the type of report that you want to see. The first option will be via email. So on the next slide, I have a list of the different types of reports that we have. But if you're downloading Priority Matrix, you should be getting a daily report and a weekly report, as long as you're on the free trial period. After that, the types of reports that will be emailed to you do vary based on the license that you have. I'm happy to answer more questions about that as well. The second place is going to be in app. So if you look at my screenshot, this is a picture of the Priority Matrix integration through Teams, also available through the web application, where you can access all of the general reports, which will include the ones emailed to you and more that aren't being emailed. And then you're also able to see the workload management report, which, it's not really fair to call that a report, but we're definitely going to look at it today because it's incredibly helpful in terms of understanding kind of the workload of each person on your team. So what are the priority matrix insight reports that we offer? Again, there's a whole lot of them. So, we'll definitely do our best to kind of break all of them down. Some of the data can be a little bit repetitive. So, again, when we look at the reports, if there's something specific that you need, just let me know. I'd be happy to kind of pick that out for you. But what we'll be looking at is the workload management report, a daily update report, which is one that can be emailed to you and can be found in application, a 7-day update, again, updated or rather emailed or in app, the monthly productivity reports, and the starred items reporting. Again, this is just kind of high level. Each one of these reports can be broken down in multiple ways, and they're all interactive. So it's not just, okay, that's all you get. It's like really dive in and figure out what you're looking at. You'll notice that some of these reports have little asterisks next to them. That represents the reports that you need either a business or an enterprise license to access. Everybody, ranging from the free version all the way up to the enterprise license and everything in between, all of those users automatically get the last 7-day update sent to them via email. So that's kind of a freebie that everybody can get access to regardless of your license. So what do the emailed reports look like? On my screen here, this is an example of the daily emailed report that you can decide to get. So basically what it would show you is what you have on your plate for the next 24 hours, the next 7 days, and the next 30 days based off of your deadlines. So again, automatically generated, this will be sent to you and kind of gives you just a moment to prepare for what's coming next on your agenda. I had to blur out the data simply because it was a little bit sensitive and some internal information was on there, but all of the links, or rather all of the items that are being referred to, are interactive. So you can click on it and it will take you right to that item within your priority matrix. This is another example of an emailed report. This is called our starred email reporting. So you can think about priority matrix and think about all the projects you have that you're working on with your teammates. And I'll give you an example of that. So I have a couple of projects where I track different accounts and different people that I'm working with and supporting. For the really most top priority accounts, I star the item, which means, it's basically the highest priority out of everything in the project. Those starred items definitely don't want to go unnoticed, and they're, definitely something you need to be paying extra attention to. So every single day, you'd also get a starred email report to show the latest updates and latest modifications on those starred items that you've been working on. So these were just two examples of, again, emailed reports that you'll be getting. You also get a weekly last 7-day update report. It'll look just like this, but it covers the last 7 days and everything you've been working on. And those are the 3 reports that you will get via email. So let me pause there. The next thing I'm going to do is transition into the live demo, but I want to ask if you all have any questions at this point about the material that we've gone over. Happy to answer those. And while I look out for questions, I'll actually switch to my application. And I did see a comment, Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing. New to Priority Matrix as a senior member of an engineering team, I found we lacked focus to keep projects going. Yeah, I hear that all the time. And Stephanie, I would actually advise for you to learn more about Priority Matrix, and this will be sent in my follow-up email, but you can either register to join an introduction webinar live, which I'll be doing, and I can answer your questions at the end. We have an intro and the advanced intro session every single week. Oh, perfect. Well, it looks like you already registered. For everybody else, be sure to check those out if you're new to the system. It's a great way to kind of learn the basics. All right, cool. So here in the middle of my screen, this is my priority matrix. And these projects here are going to be that central space where you collaborate with your teammates, track priorities, set deadlines, provide status updates. Anything in terms of collaboration and task management will absolutely be done within the system. And, a lot of people ask, well, why would I use this instead of using an email or an Excel spreadsheet? And there's a whole bag of things that we can unpack under that question. I'm not going to bore you guys with that answer today, but, ultimately, a big takeaway is, well, you put it in the system because you need to see these reports and this high level overview that's automatically created. And if something is left out or you're emailing about it, it's not going to contribute to the powerful reports that we have. So just one of the many advantages of having your whole team in one central system working together. So I'll go back to kind of the main home view, the main project view here. As we saw in the screenshots, you can click on the 4 lines in the top left corner, and then you can go to General Reports. So I mentioned this, but I'll highlight it again, which is the daily update here. If I open this, it's exactly the same it's the same information as the one that you will get emailed to you. So it's available in both places. Daily updates. You can also change the time that this is generated at, by the way. Your last 7 days, if I open this, this is also the same as the email that you would get sent to you automatically, again, depending on the license that you have. Okay. And then some of the more interactive, sorry, I misspoke there. The top weekly items would be the one that's emailed to you. So one of the most interactive reports we have is the last 7 days report, and this can only be accessed through the application. So we'll open this up. And basically what happens is it's giving you this interactive report where you can see what's happened over your last 7 days in Priority Matrix. So what I love about this webinar is I actually have time to break this down a little bit more thoroughly, whereas with other introduction webinars, I just fly through them and we can't really take a close look. So here we're able to see your active projects and the completed items over the last 7 days. You're also able to see across those projects that you've been working on the quadrant focus. And all I did there is I just clicked on this 33% and it pulled up everything that it was referring to. So it's, if you see anything on this report, you can basically click on it and it tells you more information, which is really great. It's going to tell you your active teammates. So if I were a manager and I wanted to say, all right, just show me everything that Bella was working on over the last 7 days, it's going to give me the opportunity to filter by user. The more you scroll down, the more juicy reports you have. You're able to filter item status by tags that you're using. A lot of people tag based off of a phase of the process they're in, a sales team, type of lead, marketing. You know, for all of you in different departments, I'm sure there's some keywords that kind of come to mind. You are able to add these item tags, and then you can say, well, show me everything that was overdue for, you know, warm leads or something like that. If we continue to scroll down, one of my favorite perspectives is this guy right here. It says most active projects. So I don't really have a lot of data here just because it's my demo account. But if there were a bunch of active projects, it would break all of those down for you. So again, we can see the people who are active in it. And it gives you a pie chart to understand what is overdue, what's open, and what was completed. So again, we can click on all of this and it gives you the broken down list of the exact items that are being tracked here. These reports really go on forever. So like I said, if there's, you know, anything that you're looking for specifically, please just, you know, drop me a chat or send me a follow-up email and we can kind of go through all of this together. You can export this to a PDF as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Happy to answer any questions about that report. Let's open up the monthly productivity insight as well. This one might be a little bit thinner simply because, you know, again, there's not a ton of activity happening. Oh, it looks like there's actually more, which is great. So again, this is going to be the monthly productivity insight. So gives you the same breakdown of information that you had in the last 7 days. But, you know, a lot of people like to see it from kind of that monthly perspective as well. So at any point, you can change the schedule as to when you receive these reports as well. And this is controlling when you receive the email sent to you. Cool. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to transition into looking at the workload management view. Again, not technically a report. I call it a workload management report, but everybody kind of sees this in a different light. So essentially what the workload management view does for you is it shows you all of your teammates that are using priority matrix, and you can choose the week that you're looking at as well. So let me give you an example of why you would use this. Let's say you're a manager and it's Monday morning, and you're like thinking, what do all my teammates have on their plate today? We have a couple new priorities that I need to delegate out. Who has the bandwidth to work on it? That would be a perfect example. If you are doing things through emails, Excel spreadsheets, whatever it might be, it's near impossible to have that clear-cut understanding of what is on each person's plate. With this workload management report, it's automatically generated to show you, okay, here's what Erica has due on Friday. And if I click on that, it breaks it down to show me the actual priorities that I have due for today or yesterday. You can totally break it down. So this is based off of number of items that I personally have due. Everything in my, work life revolves around deadlines. I'm sure a lot of you probably can relate to that. So I always filter this report based off of number of items that are due. I know there's a lot of organizations that place a heavy emphasis on effort hours. You can also filter to see, okay, how many hours of work does Erica have scheduled for this week? Again, you can click on it and it shows you which tasks are tying into the effort hours. Lastly, scheduled hours. So, quick breakdown, what's the difference between scheduled and effort hours? Scheduled hours would be more for those people who really like to block things off on their calendar, or they use the Gantt chart to see the overlay of priorities. So, scheduled hours would be okay, I have a task that I'm starting on Monday and I'm finishing it Wednesday morning. For example, it looks at the entire duration of how long that task will take you. So, give or take, it could be interchangeable with effort hours, but again, each organization does it a little bit differently. So we wanted to provide some options there. For those of you that are going to be using this with your entire organization, let's think of a marketing manager. When they go to the workload management report, they don't care about sales or HR or, whatever it might be. They don't need to see that workload management view. So you can actually go in here and you can filter by user groups to only see a specific group of people on your team. So hopefully all that makes sense. Again, you can download this and export it to a CSV as well. Let's see, trying to make sure I didn't forget about any of the reports we have. I hope that that makes sense and it gives you a little bit of insight as to how you can use these reports. One thing I will say is for our enterprise customers, we frequently customize reporting options. So if you need something just a little bit different or maybe something completely different than what we can do for you, let me know and I'm happy to pass that on to our engineers and we can kind of brainstorm around that. So, we're definitely here to make these powerful for all of you, and we're very much open to hearing any of your feedback and suggestions for what you may need. So that's kind of it from my side. I really hope that that was clear and it made sense to all of you. What are your questions? What can I kind of answer to go back and clarify all this for you? All right. Well, if there's no questions, then hopefully that means I did a good job explaining all of this. We have a bunch of PDFs and additional resources on the report, so just let me know if you'd like me to send that out to you. But if not, as I mentioned, be sure to join the intro and advanced intro sessions that I'm hosting next week. And yeah, again, I hope that this was helpful. I hope you